It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth.
It's you liberals who have lifted them up, Howard.
Paul, you conservatives make a mistake. You can't afford to strangle hope in people. Without hope, people become dangerous.
No, Howard. You liberals have let them invade our society. You give them jobs, political jobs.
Paul, you missed the point. It's only the smart ones we move up.
That makes it even worse.
No, we have to move them up. If we leave a smart one in the ghetto, he might develop into a leader against us. But if we raise him up into white society, we neutralize him.
It really boils down to our ability to accept. We don't need pessimism.
What he means by pessimism is resistance. And that's what COINTELPRO was all about, stopping the resistance.
I know you're out there. I can feel you now. I know that you're afraid. You're afraid of us. You're afraid of change.
We hide it in plain sight. One of Plato's greatest works was the allegory of the cave. I feel in order to understand the political matrix, we need only to look into this allegory. We first have to open our minds to the possibility everything is not as it seems, that things we've always known to be truth may be lies. For if we can't perceive the lies we've ingested, we can't see the bars on our mental conditioning. For that is how you walk out of the cave and see the political matrix. Hello, this is the Political Matrix. I'm your host, Marcus Morpheus Cage. Tilt that down a little bit. All right, hold on. There's one other video I was trying to add before we got started. If I don't see it, I'll just do it once we get going. But hopefully you all are doing well wherever you are. Hopefully it's not too late for some of you. I see Jackie's in the building. What's up, Jackie? Yeah, I guess I'll find that video shortly. But yeah, I wanted to of course do a update on this Israel versus Iran. I put Israel versus Iran. I meant to put Israel/US versus Iran, but right now Israel and US are one and the same, so why differentiate? I wanted to talk a little bit more about what's going on in Cuba, because I feel like we didn't really talk about it enough, and this is an ongoing situation. So I wanted to kind of talk about kind of where we are right now. Of course, we have to talk about the major video that went viral during this week with the whole Druski and Erika Kirk thing. Also, Kash Patel's email was hacked. And so I did want to talk about that a little bit. Some of the AI stuff that's been going on, some of the AI propaganda, granted, I don't really like the AI as far as it taking over people's jobs and those things like that. I don't mind it if it's kind of making jobs easier, or if we're doing it in entertainment, as long as it's not stealing jobs. That's where my cutoff is. So I don't mind the AI of, they wanted to take, say, Muhammad Ali in his prime and have him fight, Tyson, or have Bruce Lee fighting Chuck Norris in AI. That's cool. That's entertaining. As long as it's not AI where we can't differentiate if it is real or not. So that's something that I did want to get into. There is our co-host, the lovely Teal. Hey, Teal.
What's up, Marcus?
Not much. How are we doing on these roads out here?
Let's see how we will get this
Hopefully
working.
your travels are being safely. You don't know.
Yeah.
Teal is coming to us from the road, so she will be definitely weighing in. But she decided.
Yeah. Do you hear me now, Marcus?
Yeah, I can hear you. Said she's still muscling through, even though she's on the road at the same time. So shout outs to her for that. I was trying to find this video real quick. that I'm going to need for the show. But I was just kind of going over the topics that I wanted to get into. Anything that you've been seeing this week that's been catching your attention that you wanted to bring up, feel free. I guess it's probably be a little bit patchy because she's traveling. But let me find this one video real quick and then we will get started. It says, talking of Chuck Norris and Bruce Lee, I heard that Chuck Norris beat Bruce Lee one time. Or was the other was it either urban legend or cause of memory? I did hear Chuck Norris talk about it, but I don't know if they divulge who won or not. So that's what I was up. There's the video I want. Let's take I guess I gotta click on the video. But let me click on this and share it, and then we could get started. You guys don't have to wait on me any more seconds. Because there was a lot of things that are going on in Cuba that I wanted to address. And so that's one of the videos that I'm bringing up. All right, there's Teal. Maybe.
Okay, that's better.
Got you perfectly now. What were you saying?
No, I was just saying what's up. You know, still on the road.
Okay. I was trying to say, what kind of all the crazy stuff that's been going on this week, how much of it have you seen and been able to follow? I guess it's a little touch and go still.
Oh no, well, I just hit Virginia, so maybe so. It is touch and go. I got shitty service right now.
Oh, okay, no worries. And I'll go
It's
ahead.
just I'm in the woods of Virginia.
Oh, I know. Once you start getting those rural areas, the towers get a little bit more distant. And also with the fact that you move and
but
the phone
you
is
can't
always
hear me
trying
though.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so just before I lose service again, I just wanted to touch on pretty much what I've been paying attention to is
It dropped.
watching how these airports are working.
Yeah. Last I heard was how the airports are working, which I've seen. I think recently Trump just finally signed the bill to be able to pay the workers, which is kind of crazy when you really think about it. Because for those that don't know, on your tickets, did you realize that there is a part where it's a TSA tax on your ticket price, and that money is supposed to be paid to the airlines, and the airlines pay that money back to TSA. So therefore, TSA has actually already been paid. I don't know. It's always weird to me that things like TSA are even tied up within all these other bills. I mean, it should be something where it's standalone, whereas the national parks, the post office, like the military's pay, federal agents, all that stuff should already be on its own separate ledger. I don't get why that gets tied into tax policy and all this other stuff. It makes absolutely no sense to me. Willie is in the building. What's up, Willie? But yeah, last word that I had, let me make sure that I'm correct in that. I think Trump actually signed a bill for them to get paid. So that should end a lot of this TSA stuff. So yeah, let me put it on the screen. What I saw. Yeah, because I think that should help fix that. What is a TSA tax? Jackie asked. Let me share the comments up here. I'll pull that up Also, after I pull this article, come on, share screen. So the bill that I found, and let me know if I start cutting out at all. Trump's order, come on. Trump signs order to pay TSA employees amid shutdown standoff. This was from March 27th, 2026. Says President Donald Trump on Friday directed the Department of Homeland Security to redirect funds to pay transportation security administration employees, even as other DHS staff continue to go without pay during the partial government shutdown. Trump directed DHS to use funds that they have reasonably and logical nexus to TSA operations to provide TSA employees with the compensation and benefits that would have accrued to them if not the, as they say, the Democrat-led DHS shutdown. DHS said TSA staff will begin receiving paychecks as early as March 30th, which that should be what, Monday. The order does not specify an exact source of the funds, but CBS News, citing a senior administration official, reported that DHS would use funding from last summer's One Big Beautiful Bill Act to pay TSA employees. So, according to this, that they should be getting paid soon, which we will see. Now, let me pull up the TSA tax that I was telling you guys about, because there is a tax that they already pay. A tax that we already pay. Not responding. Let's see, tax. Let's see. TSA tax tickets. So I guess I could put it on the screen too for AI. No more beer tax. Is that saying no more beer? A tax for no more beer, or no more tax on beer? Which I definitely agree. No more tax on beer. So this one right here. The September 11th security fee, often called the TSA tax, is a federal fee on airline tickets costing $560 per one-way trip, $11.25 maximum for round trip, originating at a U.S. airport. The fee is collected by airlines to fund TSA security operations, including passenger screening. So this right here, they already get money to pay the TSA. Where does that money go? Where does that money go? That's a really good question that I wonder why we don't have an answer for it. So there's questions that I feel like that need some answering. I think this is something that went down from September 11, 2001. Money has been going into a fee. So why do we keep having these government shutdowns and TSA is not getting paid? It shouldn't there should be no reality where TSA doesn't get paid. There's all this money that's going in being accrued. There's billions in revenue that goes into all of these airlines. Are the airlines just pocketing the money? Is this money going back to Congress? What's going on? I mean, I implore you to reach out to your congressman, man or woman, because I think there's some splaining to do. No tax on beer, especially 40 ounce. I wonder if maybe it's the tax on beer anyway has to do with probably different states. Different states probably have their different ways of going about it. But before we get really deep in the game, let me throw a shout out to everybody. I see Jackie is in the building. She says, "Hi, hey, Marcus and Till and everyone. Accord Lord is here. Chris H, Willie Bragg. Kate is in the building too. Kashwarma Kate. Who else? Bomb Pop One. I like that name with the Bomb Pop in there. Used to love those growing up. Still actually love them every now and then too. But I don't understand this whole TSA thing. Why? And the whole ICE going there. I mean, thank God it didn't lead to anything traumatic. What I saw mostly them just kind of standing around. And it appears that most of the ICE agents that they sent were kind of on the younger side that I saw that were patrolling. Mostly all they were doing is walking around. I mean, it kind of reminded me very much of when Trump sent the National Guard in for the protests that were going on, the immigration protests. What ended up happening for the most part is they stood around federal buildings that nobody was doing anything to. I mean, you have more than enough of them standing around the ICE facilities, but you had a bunch of them standing around like the VA's office and weird stuff like that. And for me, what I keep seeing is just more and more signs that this government has no clue what the hell they're doing. And I've kind of long not been surprised, I guess I'll say, but kind of expected that, because some of the stuff that I hear from conservatives in general tells me that they have no clue how government works. They have no clue how any of this stuff works. Now, I'm not saying that it runs flawlessly or that it runs good or that there are not a lot of things that need to be fixed, but just some of the stuff that I'll hear tells me that they don't understand how most of this stuff actually works. Now, I'm not saying that these people cannot be brilliant in, I'm talking about conservatives. I'm not saying that they can't be, great as far as farming or whatever they like to do, whatever field that they're in, whether that's the oil rigs or whatever. But to me, I think because conservatives have went so long with this idea and preaching limited governments and always with this mindset of government is your biggest enemy, government is doing this, government is doing that. They went with this belief system so long that their instinct is everything that has to do with the government, distrust it. And so therefore, if you distrust it, you don't have to learn anything about it. I feel like the government is a tool. And if you don't use this tool, somebody else will use this tool. Now, it's definitely fully infiltrated by too much corruption, and that corruption leads to the government working against us. But the way that this world kind of works out is somebody is going to be in power. That's just point blank period. Somebody's going to be in power. Now, what you have to do is pick which way do you want that power to represent. Do you want a monarchy? Do you want a theocracy? Do you want capitalism? Do you want some form of socialism or communism? Or do you want forms of fascism? There's many different avenues that you can fall into. But what it's not going to be is just free and open and everybody just does whatever the hell they feel like it. That doesn't work in a country of over 300 million people. And I think right now we're roughly around 350 million or more. It's not going to work that way. Since this country is already it's kind of like trying to change the rules within the middle of the game. So many things are built a certain way. It kind of be hard to just jump to a whole nother governance without this whole system collapsing. And in collapse comes many things also with that, which I don't feel like are always factored in. But what I do think is that right now, the two options that you have where things change, there where there's the least amount of change is either business takes over completely, which I don't advocate for that, or you deal with this crappy government we have and try to get whatever concessions you can get out of it. Because if it goes the way of business, there's nothing you're going to be able to do. No, there's zero. And so that's one thing which which always kind of bothered me about the way that conservatives went about it. Their sole angst was on anti-government, 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 while ignoring corporations. And I know why. It's because corporations have used them as willing idiots to tear down the government so that they can have free range over them, not realizing you're throwing yourself out of the skillet, into the fire. But that said, I'll dress. I see a couple of new people up. I see Lady Alex has hopped in. I see Chamonique is in the building. It says hello, supporting this Auntie Chamonique. Lucky number 7, Alex. And I see Wesley is in the building. Welcome, welcome, welcome all. I know I went on a little mini tangent there, but that's kind of one thing that I've noticed. And the more and more with this Trump administration, you see that they don't understand things. They're just like, it's like a kid getting into a car and just pushing buttons and seeing what everything does. And this administration has been that on steroids, to a point where it's looking like the car might get wrecked sooner than later. So before we get into some of those other things, speaking about a government not knowing what they're doing and being out of control, I want to go into some of this stuff that I've seen. Talking about conservatives not knowing what they're doing. Let's start off with this video. Now, this says a mega gas station in Texas lowered their gas prices below $2 to appease Trump. It ended up going bankrupt. So let me show y'all this and get back to you on the other. Oh no, not share gas, but hold on. Let's share my screen. That's what I want to do. So here we go. Let's put this on the screen.
There is a gas station in Texas that lowered its gas below $2, and they did the math wrong. Now, the owner of this gas station is a huge MAGA. Huge MAGA. He was losing money on his gas. That's how much he wanted to support Taco. And they did the math wrong. He thought it would cost him like $4,000 or $5,000, $300,000. Now he has to file for bankruptcy. $300,000. He was losing so much money on gas because he could claim that he had gas below $2 a gallon, that it's now bankrupt him because his accountant, who's his wife, did the math wrong, and it's cost him over $300,000. You can't make this shit up how ignorant these people are.
Woo! Imagine being that person. Imagine being that person. Because you love Trump so much, you literally destroy your own business over trying to give Trump a rhetorical win. Gosh, when they say this shit is a cult, man, I don't really think that they get the level of how culty these people are. Yeah, that's right. Let me Ooh, that sounds good. Let me put this on the screen. Says off topic. I'm making lemon sorbet today. First time. Wish me luck. Now that I have time to do stuff, I can experiment in the kitchen. Hey, good luck to you. Hey, I wish I was close. I'd be like, yo, save me some. Um, and then Lady Alex also says, hey, Marcus, aren't you glad those bogus No Kings protests are over? LOL, those dum-dums. Yeah, I was like, should I even waste the time covering this? I mean, I didn't cover it the last time around. The only thing that these people can say is now it makes them look a little bit more valid because Trump is, showing his ass more. Yeah, but it's just performative, and I don't see what that's going to do. We already know that Trump is not a man that listens. So whether the protests are valid or not, it's irrelevant. It's not going to do a damn thing. Also, the fact how everybody shows up with their permits, they show up in the appropriate area where they're told that they can go and stand, and then they rah cosplay as real protesters for a moment, and then go home and then go and pat themselves on the back and get on social media and tell themselves how we stuck it to the man. And it's like, these older liberals, they're so frustrating. These Pyrrhic wins that they always strive for, and it's like the reason why they're able to do something like this, and it, to me, it's so hollow, is because many of them are safe and they're comfortable. They have their house, they have their cars. Gases went up a little bit, but they're not fretting nearly as much. Maybe their kids are struggling, but they don't really care when it comes down to it. And so they get out there and cosplay, and act, like they're doing something, which, as somebody else said, I can't remember who, it's a whole lot of moving around, but it's no motion. So that's what I'll say as far as that. Yeah, there's no need to cover it. I mean, they ain't doing nothing. And then you see people like Kyle out there covering it like this is really something. I mean, and honestly, because of how there's been such a bad media blackout on a lot of these things, I've been forced to listen to a lot more sources that I normally don't listen to. Keep in mind, just because I listen to different sources, it doesn't necessarily mean I like them. It doesn't mean I agree with them. I listen to all kinds of people, and I'm not saying everybody should do that, but it's a way that I do things. Because it keeps me abreast of what this person's talking about over here, what they're talking about over there. Sometimes somebody is covering something that I didn't hear about anywhere else, and it is important for me to hear it. But I can't. I don't like the take which they have, so it'll get me to be able to. Okay, well, let me look a little deeper on that story itself, and I can report the story from my vantage point and my viewpoint. The Lego video is a problem. Actually, I'm gonna start that so I remember to come back to it, because I do want to talk about some of the fun propaganda AI videos that have been going around. Um, let's see. Enjoy hanging out in your kitchen. Okay. And Marcus, it's so disappointing to see Jane Fonda and Joan Baez as being shit-lived. Honestly, it's sad to see all of the people, Angela Davis, people like that too, which I've always looked to be, especially growing up and reading about them in the history books. I always thought that these were like iconic type people where they're who that you'd want to grow up to be when they were in that phase. But now how they all just get so bought and sold out. I mean, look at people like Clyburn. Clyburn was a civil rights leader also. I mean, what's the other one that passed not that long ago? Maybe it's a little while right now. John, I want to say he was out of Maryland. but he marched with MLK also. And it's like all of those people who like marched with MLK and all the civil rights leaders of the 60s and 70s, all of these people just, I don't know if how every single one of them gets, beat down and bought out eventually, but it seems like that's the pattern, that's what they turn into. They remind me of the whole phrase of the yuppies, how they started off as these hippie types, and next they traded in that hippie side and activism and caring for the community and other people to worrying about their status and their wealth. And I don't know, it's just sad how this system corrupts people to their soul and core. And then these same people who get corrupted to their core, they try to turn around and pretend as if, you know what, I'm still fighting for the people. I mean, even if it's the tonality of their rhetoric, how they still try to pretend, like the Cornel West's, the Van Jones, the Al Sharptons, they still try to tonally sound as if they're this freedom fighter. Oh, they're not. I just pray that never befalls me. Okay, let's see. What does Emily say here? Emily says Japan has a new fascist party called Shansheito with Nazi Japanese. Oh, interesting. I need to look into that. Thank you for sharing that. In fact, let me put a little side note so that I make sure that I pull that up. Because I don't want to speak on it since I haven't done the research on it, but I definitely do want to be able to, do some research on it and then bring it up in topic for next week. Party. All right. Okay, got that one over there. So I'll be able to come back to it. Thank you. Yeah, you said the No Kings protests. Oh, I missed a little bit. See, my man Hamza is in the building. What's up, Hamza? No Kings protests are organized by liberal defenders of the same political status quo. Yeah, I mean, they just don't like it because Trump is not following procedure. They care more about the procedural effects than the result. They're like, so if he would have went to Congress and most of you, your representatives still would have voted for him to do the same thing, you wouldn't have had as much of a problem. Just like most of you guys they're not giving, any kind of pressure on the fact that most of their politicians are still voting to send money to Israel. They're still funding or supporting politicians which want to keep pumping money into this Ukrainian situation, which is only leading to, a war of attrition and more Ukrainians dying. I mean, at some point, you need to focus on more what's going on here within our own borders instead of trying to do all of this regime change and trying to fight back against a scourge of communism. I mean, it's like, stop it. And this is all because you're worried about how much that you could take from other countries through capitalism. You're worried about how that's going to affect your possibility of exploiting another nation down the road. And it's like, can you just stop? My grandfather would say, hey, boy, go sit down and be still. Yeah, I did see that, Hamza. Let me put this on the screen. With some of the stuff that is going on, it is wreaking havoc already to other areas. And Thailand and India are having energy lockdowns. I think it was like every Wednesday. It's just everybody stay home already, and they're already putting restrictions on you going out. I think it was Australia. I don't know if this is widespread across Australia or if this is some kind of unique situation, but oh, that's right. I got a video on it, but this young lady where um the shelves are like completely bare. And then and I say also, make sure you guys research it. Also, don't take everything I say, and run with it because this could be wrong. This could be, this could be from something else. I don't know, because sometimes they'll pop up these videos and the situation might be true, the location might be true, but this might be a video from the pandemic for all I know. But let's see, where'd it go? Where'd it go? Where'd it go? So let me put this up real quick. It looks like I'm kind of gonna be kind of bouncing around this show, so apologies for not being very linear. Um Man, Signal is acting crazy right now. But let me share my screen with you all. Come on, buffering, buffering, buffering. Okay. All right, so there it is. So let me just share this with you all. Yeah, I have a lot of clips that I have saved up for this show. Some of them are informational, some of them are news, some of them are just for entertainment.
Look, I'm not trying to scare you, but there's a lot going on right now that is not making it to the news. This right here is in Australia.
So Sienna and I have just come to Coles to literally get popcorn. And look, there's nothing.
Right now, everybody's focused in on this war that's happening with Iran and how they blocked the Strait of Hormuz, where 20% of the world's oil and gas is supposed to be flowing through, but it's not at the moment. This is causing some problems. People in India are fighting over Australia's energy minister has said that they have about 38 days of gas and 30 days of diesel left in their reserves. The Philippines declared a state of energy emergency, and the International Energy Agency is saying this is the worst energy crisis in modern history. But that's not the full story. What people haven't been talking about is the fact that 30% of the world's seaborne fertilizer trade also passes through the Strait of Hormuz. Prices for that primary fertilizer called urea is already up 30%, and you better believe that's going to show up in your food prices. And unlike with oil, there's no international reserves of fertilizer that can just be released to relieve some of the pressure. Right now, the United Nations World Food Program is saying that around 45 million additional people could be pushed into acute hunger due to rising food and fuel costs and supply chain disruptions. And for all my Westerners who think that this isn't going to affect you, listen up. All of this is happening right at the and make tough decisions about what exactly they're going to do. What they're going to buy, what crops are they going to plant. The farm fewer hands. Nebraska that's already for an estimated 40,000.
Figure out comment some of the reminding gas is much America how they most people when it comes to economics they work as far as supply and demand. Um, that's kind of economics 101, supply and demand. But America and most Western countries do not work in they don't work as far as supply and demand. They work on what's called supply side economics. And supply side economics is you stockpile as much as possible. And when you have that stockpile, you can decide, well, I'll control the I'll control the flow of my inventory by saying, once I have, say, a certain amount of X, I'll only put out a certain amount of this. So it gives a form of scarcity so that I can still operate as far as supply and demand, therefore artificially inflate prices to be able to make more money off of them. That's something that all of our big box stores all do. That's how they're able to run your smaller grocery stores out of the market and eventually force you to start only using these bigger chain stores. That's why you don't have as many of the mom and pop corner stores, which people used to go to or still go to in most rural areas. And what he's saying is right. It's good. Like, I guess maybe some people in the TikTok world, it is surprising that a lot of people aren't talking about these things. But I feel like right now, I almost feel like what I tend to do almost feels a little almost overcrowded these days because there's so many people talking about this. Now, whether they're getting all the information out there is a different story. Whether some people are being overly hyperbolic, that's a different story. But I do feel that people are at least alerting to the fact of don't be so calm. There are possible dire days ahead. And this is something that I've kind of warned about for quite some time. So it's kind of interesting watching, I don't know, it's a little interesting, a little surreal watching so many people talking about the same things that I'm talking about now. But if the message gets out to people, I don't care that they didn't get it from me. And I'm not saying it as if I'm the only person talking about this. I'm just saying that the people who have been talking about these things, I know it feels kind of weird for many of us, all of these people who are now focusing on these issues. But hey, welcome to the pool party.
Popular analyst here on Twitter pointed out that we also need to think about the fact that the biggest concern doesn't have to show up in food and gas prices. History tells us that this spike in the price of oil might actually come at the cost of your job. We know that the economy in the US already isn't in the best spot. So any extra pressure, businesses might just start cutting work. As they're also raising prices. Look, I don't want you to be scared. I just want you to be prepared. The major signal for me is whether or not the Strait of Hormuz opens back up and these ships start flowing in this region again. Not what these world leaders are talking about. All they're doing is yapping, trying to manage reputation, money. Once the Strait of
Seems like it's getting normally in in these spirits impactful. Even if the Strait open tomorrow, that doesn't fix things. That's still going to have, it's still going to be massive effects of things that we're going to be feeling, because a lot of things have been destroyed and it just hasn't caught up with many people yet. And there's a lot more things that there's no way to just end this tomorrow. Because once you decide to start messing with Iran, you basically took it was basically like hitting a hornet's nest or a bee's nest. It's not a problem that you just bottle right back up real quick and easily. Because you're gonna have a lot of oil and stuff like that that is decimated across other parts of the Middle East. You're also going to have you're going to have a humanitarian crisis. Right now, I heard something like well over, a couple thousand people have already died in Lebanon. They already have over 1 million people displaced. In parts of Iran, you're having massive displacement, over 1 million there too. Where do you think these people are going to go? Think about it. Where do you think these people are going to go? And I hate to say it for our European listeners, you guys are about to get bombarded with people. And the sad part about it is I feel bad for them. I feel bad for, that country. See, video's buffering. Yeah, I know the video is buffering, but hopefully it's fixed. Yeah, it was just the video. I don't know why it was buffering, but it was good that he brought up the fact of all of these countries that are all starting to feel it. And we're always going to be the last to feel it because of, the reserves, how much reserves that we have on hand, how cheap our barrels of oil already are compared to some of these other nations. And since we get oil for far cheaper than everywhere else, the regular citizenry like us, we don't feel it nearly as heavy as other countries. When I lived in Italy, the gas prices were ridiculous back then. I mean, we're talking about 20 years ago or more. Gas prices were ridiculous then. And so you factor in a war, stuff like that, it gets 10 times worse. And you actually feel it in those countries very quickly. And so you feel it in a lot of these countries that don't have the deals that we have as far as oil. And I would say outside of United States, Canada, Great Britain, and Great Britain it's not as tough for them either because they have a very good public transportation system, so they're able to do that and avoid that. The same thing with many European nations, they have very good public transportation, so they're able to mitigate that to some degree. But they still feel it as far as shortages from many of their goods because so many of them are so dependent on imports. I would say they're even more dependent on imports than we are here in the States. The States has done it to themselves, but a lot of Europe has kind of been that way for a very long time. I mean, some things they just literally just don't have there, and have always had to get from elsewhere. And so during a time like this, things get exacerbated. Yeah, Wesley says, I heard the U.S. strategic reserves have already been drawn down to keep oil prices under control. Yeah, they've already unleashed those, and once those reserves start to be impacted, once it starts to be drawn all the way down to a point where we don't feel the impact of it anymore, we'll start feeling more and more here. We'll start feeling the pinch more and more. That's the reason why you have for a short period gas prices started to rise and then they froze in a lot of other areas. Also, it has to do with market manipulation, which every time Trump goes out there and says, oh, well, we're coming to a deal, what Wall Street does is they actually take this jackass serious. And so what they do is they freeze and hold. And so barrels of oil, which were going, 105, 110, 115, 120, all of a sudden shoo, it freezes and it goes back down to 100, goes down to 95, goes to 90, and then they sit there and pause for a while. And then what happens is after the markets close on Friday, typically either Trump or Israel attacks something. And then right before Sunday night or early Monday morning, Trump comes back out as, oh, this thing is all really close to being wrapped up. We're almost done, even though they're sending more and more troops. Anytime they're sending more and more troops, lets you know that we're not close to being done. If this thing was being close to being done, we would be drawing down, not ramping up. Also, how can you say this thing is almost done when Israel is continuing to launch missiles? They've already said, the Iranians have already said it's going to be a tit for tat. If Israel keeps launching, they're going to keep launching. I don't see how you don't understand that. And then, especially after the fact of Israel has went after their number 2 export, their iron. Or was it iron or steel? They're steel, sorry. With going after their number 2, basically backbone of their economy, you're affecting their civilian markets, and it's going to start really affecting them more and more. And so if you hit their pockets, it only makes sense they go after yours too. Yeah, Europe, Hamza said is here. Yeah, they're going to flood into Europe. Jack says, why not bring back working from home where possible to save? Why not bring back working from home where possible to save on gasoline for petrol? Well, the reason why they don't want to do that is they go to doing that, what's going to happen is, well, some countries are doing it, don't get me wrong. But if they start doing that in all of the Western countries, what that's going to lead to is what happened during the pandemic. You're going to start having more and more businesses which are not getting patronage from customers. Think about how many people, like for instance, around me, since I work in what's kind of one of those business commerce type areas where there's a whole bunch of businesses that are just, businesses, and then there's stores that are around them, which basically are only open for those businesses. I mean, there's a lot of restaurants which they're only open, Monday through Friday, and they shut down at like 4 or 5 o'clock because all the business traffic is left for the day. Those companies completely go under. And that will eventually start to affect the economy more and more and more. So it's a trickle of things that will start to happen. That's what I'm saying. A city like Alex put here, I'm from NYC, never drove a car until I was 40, in which I ran into a lot of people like that. And you can do that in cities which have good public transportation. But if you grow up in places that don't have good public transportation, you're stuck. You don't have a choice but to use a vehicle. A place like India, Thailand, they don't have a choice. Living stateside here, Kansas City, where I grew up, you need a car in Kansas City. Public transportation is not going to cut it. And even like say for instance, my county in particular, the major mall that was in my county shut down. So we had to go the next county over. It's not super far, but there was no direct buses that take you that way. So you're going to be hopping on this bus to catch this bus, to catch this bus, to get over that bus, which now you look at it, it's probably let's say 12 miles to the mall. You have now ended up having to take probably like 3 hours to get to the mall because you get over to this one stop, then you have to wait another 30 minutes for this bus, and this bus crosses you over here, which is further out of the way. But that's the only way you can catch this bus that takes you directly to the mall. And so you got a lot of cities that are like that, especially in the middle of the United States. And that's kind of very similar to these countries countries and states within these countries that are set up similar. Yeah, UK has no oil. Nina is in the building. Yeah, I saw the enlistment age. Enlistment age is capped at 42. Well, it raised the cap to 42. It was 34. And if things persist and go in the way of war, you will see that number rise even more. Also, they're relaxing restrictions on marijuana convictions. So if you've been arrested on any type of marijuana conviction, they're saying, "Hey, well, no, that's not a big deal. Come on and join the military." That ain't gonna get people to want to join. But they don't need that either, because that new bill that they put in, that they basically have kind of reinstituted the draft without saying they reinstituted the draft. They're just trying to see how many people they can get to volunteer so they don't have to take that measure. And I got the feeling, if things go the way I think that they're going to go, I mean, there's a couple of things that could happen. You have the whole Carg Island thing that everybody's talking about. This is a possibility. If we go into Carg Island, what you're going to more than likely have is you're walking into a giant booby trap. We might look at possibly thousands of troops that'll die almost instantly. We might be looking at millions of dollars of amphibious assault vehicles that'll be decimated, and crews also walking into a trap where if they don't get taken out, then you're going to have a whole lot of American hostages left for the Iranians. I don't know if that's the route that they're going to do, or I can't remember the terms of what it's called, but if they're going to go to the other side of the Straits of Hormuz, where there are a bunch of villages which live within that area. If they move into that area, I don't know exactly what the purpose of that will do. You could kind of hold that area, and that'll be, a symbolic win that Trump can say, "Oh yeah, we got boots on the ground." But it's not going to relieve the problem that you have with the straits being closed. And I wonder if some general is going to buckle, because many of them have said that no. Well, generals and admirals are saying, I'm not sending my men and women down there to try to guide these ships. You're sending them on a suicide mission by doing that. And I don't know if you guys realize how slow tankers move and how easy of a target that is to hit in kind of still waters. Because the Strait of Hormuz isn't like rocky and bumpy and it's not doing all that. They're going to be, especially the bigger a ship is, the more stable it kind of is. So when I was on a frigate, which is one of the smallest condition, like U.S. naval ships. That thing moves around quite a bit, and it's a lot bigger than most people would probably expect. And that's considered one of the smaller ones outside of the amphibs. Then you get up to like the carrier, the cruisers and destroyer levels size ships, which those are about 2 times the size of a frigate. Then you jump up to a carrier, which is probably about like 4 times larger than a cruiser destroyer. It's just insane how much bigger it is. It's literally like a floating city. Well, for context, these carriers that are bringing stuff through the straits, whether it just be oil, because it's not just oil, they're bringing all kind of things in those containers. All kind of things are having to move through there. So we're talking about something that is easily 4 times larger than I won't say 4 times larger, but I'll say definitely probably easily double the size of a carrier. Let me see if I can find a comparison. That way it's just easier to show it, because everybody knows a carrier is huge. because I want to say on a smaller carrier, well, I guess it depends on which size carrier. Um, a smaller carrier will have a crew of anywhere around 2,000 to 3,000 um, uh, active duty members, and that's including the flight crews for the choppers and for the fixed wing planes. Um, when you start with the newer, more nuclear powered ones, we're talking about 5,000, 6,000 man crew, which double the size. Let me see size comparison. Carrier to oil transports, oil tanker. There we go. Let's see if we got images. I guess that's not tying a direct one-to-one, but let me see if I can. Oh, I guess it is. Let's see. Let me just share my screen. That way you guys can see what I'm looking at when I start talking about the size comparison. So you got different size oil tankers, of course. These things are massive. I guess maybe I should put U.S. carrier. Let's see. Not seeing any there on the images, but let's see what it says here. See, oil tankers are generally much larger in volume, displacement, and cargo capacity than aircraft carriers. Although carriers are often longer than smaller tankers, a top tier, very large crude container can hold over 2 million barrels of oil. U.S. carriers are roughly 100,000 tons displacement. So we're talking about a massive, massive size difference. And the larger these ships are, the slower they move. So we're talking about something that can carry over 2 million, basically the equivalent of 2 million barrels of oil, where the size difference is massive. And it's so easy to hit one of those. Also, keep in mind, these oil tankers have civilian personnel. I don't know how many civilians who literally thought, well, I want to move oil so badly that I'm ready to die for this. Most of the time, no, that's not where their head is at. And then, that guy was talking about also in the video, in Nebraska right now, you're having fires, wildfires in Nebraska. I don't think I've ever heard of wildfires in Nebraska. Like, I don't know what the hell is going on. I mean, but that's definitely going to massively affect things. For the people who don't realize why that would affect things nearly as much is because most of your beef that's not exported, or imported, seeing that we've been getting that disgusting beef that's been coming from Argentina. And I say disgusting beef for a reason. China rejected it because they're like, this is basically poison. And this is the stuff which Trump just allowed to come in from Argentina to help his good buddy Malay. Instead of taking what our farmers have, which I'm not saying all of it is up to standard, but I'm saying that is definitely better than the shit that we're importing right now. So these cows with these wildfires, it's going to affect the granging. And an area like where I grew up in, There's literally millions. I want to say it's like three times the amount of cows than there are people. And people will think, oh, well, maybe that means you guys have a really small population. No, we're talking about in these Midwestern states, you can take 3 or 4 states and we're talking about 40, 50 million cows. Hey there, Mariah. Hopefully all is well with you. And thank you for coming on last week. But yeah, I just wanted to drill in how imperative it is, how something like that is going to affect things. And with with growing the crops and things being affected, all of these things matter. And I've just heard so many like content creators, some of them larger. I'm not gonna name names right now, but many of them have kind of made it as if we do face a World War III type situation, that it's not going to affect us in the States nearly as much as it is the rest of the world. And I'm here to tell you, do not fall for that nonsense. Protect yourself, because it can get to a point where we see things in this country that we haven't seen in easily over 100 years. We could really see the effects of what a depression actually looks like. And one thing that rose out of the depression was, the age of, for when you had the robber barons, where the rich got ultra wealthy. We already have that, but we'll have that on steroids. But also what you had is all of the famous bank robbers. You had the period of all the bank robbers, the Pretty Boy Floyds and, Babyface Nelson. And you go down the list of some of these mobsters who used to rob. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to get all of this fame and prestige, but what I bring that up to mention, you're going to be looking at a situation where crime will increase massively. Some people are already at the point of one little thing happens to them and they're cooked. I would say probably a good, maybe, I don't know, probably what, 40% to 50% of the country is already living paycheck to paycheck. It's only a matter of time before something like that comes in and starts to wreak havoc. And Americans as a whole aren't built for pain. And I can see people going to drastic measures once they start feeling it. So I just want to keep you guys abreast of all those different things like that. Curious. I see Bad Cookies is also hopped in the building. Also, what's up, Bad Cookies? Does anyone think we will be witnessing nukes in these horrific wars? If we see nukes, then we might as well look at like basically into the end game, because it's not going to be a one-sided thing. It's going to be multiple countries using it. I do worry that Trump is foolish enough, or that Israel is foolish enough also. I would hope that they're not that reckless, but man, I don't put it past anybody. I really don't. This is why when we would always talk about, Israel's attacks on Iran, I was always coming from the more cautious lens. Like, I mean, I get what the Ayatollah is trying to weigh out, and it clashes against like my upbringing, and many, I guess I would definitely say in the Black community they could probably identify with this, but you can't have that image of being able to be bullied or be punked, because if you are, then it's like the sharks smell blood in the water, and in this dog eat dog world, it's not a good place to be in. And so many people, especially in the Black and brown communities, push bravado. I'll say the middle to lower class male atmosphere in general is bravado, who's tough, pecking order, all that is imperative. And so you either got to be able to protect yourself with violence or always be prepared to be able to use it in whatever circumstance. I mean, I know that's not politically correct to talk like that, but that's kind of how it is because you're always being tested by people. And sometimes if you stand there and just get slapped in the mouth, you've caused yourself a lifetime, especially in that community, of misery because everybody's going to look at you as a cheap target. And so I get some people apply that mentality of that macho, machismo, bravado into world leader type situations. But you cannot do that because I look at it as it's the equivalent of being ready to get into a fight situation and you have your child right there who's going to have to fight with you, or your nieces and nephews, or you're having to fight with somebody who's innocent and they're more than likely going to take some damage also. And so as a world leader, yeah, I get it that they've kind of, your pride is getting stomped on. You're being emasculated. At the same time, the moment that you take that swing, like I said in this analogy, your kid who's next to you might get punched also. Do you want to fight that bad? And I look at it as a world leader, he got to think about his population. They know the U.S. is going to attack and launch, and Israel is going to launch on innocent civilians also. By you defending yourself, you're putting a lot of innocent people's lives on the line. And so I understood why the Ayatollah was always kind of torn and always measured in the way he would try to handle things. But I also get why his son feels like throw caution to the wind. And I'm not even gonna say he's throwing caution to the wind. I still think he's being very measured. I still think he's given an avenue where I gotta punch the bully hard enough that they won't punch me back. But at the same time, I'm not trying to punch the bully to the point where everybody feels I need to be punched back also. So he's taking a more aggressive approach. He's just trying to be, he's still being measured in that. Let's see. What else did I see? Sorry, I'm just bouncing around in you guys' comments. Wesley says, interesting that the Navy hasn't decided to just pirate the tankers that are allowed through the strait. If they did that, then more than likely, I don't know. That's interesting because what you're saying is tankers that were probably designed to go to China or Russia, or China, because Russia basically has their own oil, but tankers that are going to China to hijack those first. Then I think that would lead to a bigger escalation. I don't put it past them that they would do something like that, or may think to do something like that. But the moment you do something like that, now Iran is going to be forced to make a decision. Do we bomb that ship and risk harming Chinese nationals and now have the ire of China? Or do we close the straits for them also? And now China starts to struggle on oil, which may lead to a situation of China now getting involved and taking a more firm hand in the war. So either way you do it, if you do that, it's going to lead, it's consequences for everything you do right now in this situation. It can get very, very dicey very fast. And the thing about it is they've gotten themselves in a finger trap right now. I mean, Trump was not smart enough to see around the situation. And this is why this is more and more why I push back against anybody who says, well, even if you would have got Kamala in there, she would have did this too. No, she wouldn't have. I don't think any contenders for president or people who've been presidents before are this freaking dumb. You have to be an idiot to do this. Now, do I put it past them that they would have done other things? Maybe. Do I put it past them that they would have let Midnight Hammer or whatever that BS? Actually, I don't even think they would have went that far because everybody for years have known Iran is different than Iraq. The moment you go into Iran, you have not only is the country 4 times bigger, but you deal with um, you deal with geographical issues that are different that make it a much more daunting task. Iran also has a lot more power and leverage than Iraq does. And so, and also keeping in mind, when we were going into Iraq or even Afghanistan, any of those countries, you also had the aid of Saudi Arabia, you had the aid of Qatar, you had UAE, you had Oman, you had Jordan, you can fly out of, you had all of these nations that you could stage up troops, stage up resources, stage all kind of things to help aid in this. With Iran, since they have the ability to obliterate all of these countries around them, they take that advantage away from you. So you don't have the ability to do that anymore. Now your refueling is going to take longer. Your replenishments are going to be even harder. It makes it harder for you to fight that war with that much distance and with it being that hard to mount up massive amounts of troops, unless what their goal is to get to the other side of the strait, secure that location there, and possibly use that as a base of operation to commandeer and start loading people up. But at the same time, if you do that, you're still in the vantage point of being hit by missiles from Iran, and so I don't understand why you would do this. And then on top of doing something like this, you've already Cookies called me a beta. That's fine. Yeah, that's funny. But I look at it like if you do mount up in these ways and you don't have the means to, like when we went in Desert Storm the first time, the United States military, they lined up over 500,000 troops before they invaded. We see 500,000 troops come in, it's very easy to subdue, and for a lot of people to just say, hey, we give. And that's what happened in that case. Also, the fact that Trump has went around literally spitting in the face of every country in the world, including all of our allies. Why would they come to our aid and help bail Trump out of a self-caused situation? Yes, please explain the context of why you're calling me a beta. I'm curious. Says Marcus, do you think as soon as this war is over, they'll start trying to impeach Trump to keep the theater going? It depends on when this war is over. If this war is over before actually, I think if the Democrats get into power before his term is over, or before like he passed or anything like that, I think he's definitely getting impeached. And this time I don't think it'll be, I mean, it's technically it's always theater, but I think that like this time around that they really want him to, they will really like get him out of office. I think there's enough Republicans who want him out of power also, because they're fine with being corrupt, but they're not fine with being corrupt if it means the possibility that it's not safe for them to walk around, that they're not able to collect their checks without getting a lot of heat. They love taking the bag, don't get me wrong, but they want to take the bag while they can go on their trips to Cancun without being bothered, while they can go on their Christmas recess without being bothered. The last thing they want is to walk down the street and everybody is screaming and holler at them everywhere they go. These politicians don't want that. They don't want to be on the possibility of what if Iran decides that they want to start hitting politicians directly. They don't want to be on that side. So I think as far as just protecting themselves, many of them would love to put this off on a, hey, this was all that guy. We took care of that guy. You don't have to be upset with us. So yeah, I think it will be some theater, but I think like no, I honestly think this is part of why the Democrats are not bringing, um, not calling it anything, not calling any kind of congressional meetings or anything. They want Trump to, sad to say it, but I really think that they want Trump to blunder, and they're willing to risk thousands of young service members' lives just so they can have a closed, shut case to throw Trump out of office, and also build enough leverage to actually get imprisonment. So not only impeachment, yanked out of office, but to get criminal charges. I think that is the goal. Now, I could be wrong, but that's what I think of. Because I think at this point now, I mean, I'm hearing Republicans talk about 25th Amendment on Trump. I think that I think that what it is they're more nervous and scared of things that they see that are coming down the pike than I think what I think the average citizen realizes. I think they know a whole lot more of what's about to happen, and they're terrified to say that they were a part of it at all. I'm not saying anything will necessarily change, because once we're in it, we're in it. The only way this whole Iran war thing ends is Israel and Iran got to decide that it's over. And more than likely, what's going to happen is Israel's not going to decide that it's over. Israel is going to keep going until they just get decimated. And then the Israel lobby is going to push every one of those Democrats who they have in their pocket to continue with, the problem which Trump started. Oh, that's what you were talking about, Bad Cookies. It's so back when you were talking about cocky mentality of politicians posturing, it's because they had that alpha mentality. Now I understand it. When you actually have a true alpha mentality, not bluster, you think about consequences. I'll tell you this: most boxers that I know, MMA guys that I know, real fighters, they try to avoid fights. They try their best to avoid fights because they think about consequences that come with fight. People who are either selfish or don't care about consequences or don't care about other people, they're the only ones who just run into a fight without thinking about it. How can you be a true protector if you allow many of your people to get murdered and killed because your pride got hurt? It's too much. Here's another thing. Like I mentioned, I think I mentioned it last week or week before. I've been a pallbearer to multiple classmates going through high school. When you actually got to bury people that you care about, it makes you really think these things out a little bit more. And somebody like Lindsey Graham, Marco Rubio, they're not used to being touched. They're not used to having to have loss behind this. It's you and your family over there. You guys are going to suffer behind my decisions, not me. So that's the reason why they're more comfortable with, sending other people to do this kind of thing. I think Israel's Samson option, I think that they could actually get decimated before the Samson option. It's very possible that somebody could take that option out of their hands, because depending on where those missiles are at, if they're able to hit the right location, there goes Israel's nuclear program, and there goes half of Israel also. And eventually it'll turn major chunks of that area into a toxic wasteland. Exactly. The nation has always been ruled by Grahams and Rubios. But like they say, you know, every dog has his day, and eventually they'll have theirs. I think that these people don't like. There's this scripture that comes to mind. I know, calm down. I'm not gonna go into a whole sermon, but it says they think in their inward hearts that their houses will go on forever. And what that's basically saying is some of these people think that I'm always going to be here. America's always going to stand. There's no possibility America ever will fall. Now, of course, that's not applied solely to America or whatever, but there's a lot of people who feel like no matter what we do, the ruin and destruction is never going to come upon my house. I'm not going to have to face this directly. And eventually, it does face you. It does come up with you. So if you don't believe in the Bible, I'm sure most people at least believe in karma. Can't escape it. Cannot escape it. I saw some interesting videos out there that I guess since we've been talking about this a little bit, and I've kind of been weighing out some of my thoughts on it. Hopefully my signal's a little bit better to show you guys some of this stuff, but I've seen some very we're going to end off the show on a more entertaining note. I'll just let you guys know that. Getting some of this more downer news out of the way. But let me see if I can find it. Goodness. I think it's this one. But it's a couple of sorry, it was my autoplay has been going crazy. A couple of AI videos that have been going around. You sow the wind, you shall reap the whirlwind. I like that. I like that. There's been a couple of AI videos that have been kind of going around, and I want to share some of those with y'all because this stuff has been giving me the most entertainment. This has been giving me the most entertainment ever. Let's see. Hopefully I can just find the short videos because I've been finding mostly ones which people have been covering them. Okay, where is that? Because there's been so many of them. Let's see, where we at? Hold on one second. Okay, here we go. I'll play this one for you. Let me share my screen. I keep wrong button. Share screen. Let me mute up real quick. I'll mute once I find it.
On the war front, what we've been seeing is Iran making it very clear that they are not in any move or dialogue, or talks with the US suggesting that they have burned their fingers before.
A little bit crazy for a minute. I'll stop talking.
All
Which this one, as far as Legos and stuff like that. And I'm pretty sure most of you guys have seen it. Iran trolls Trump with ruthless Lego propaganda. But there's another one that I really, really enjoyed. This one was like hilarious to me. And I don't know who gets credit for putting it together. But came down with headaches, so I'm going to call night. Oh, well, glad you were here. Glad you were able to make it, Jackie, and good night. Hopefully your headache feels better. But this one right here is the Lego one, but there was another one that I saw. I'm gonna stop sharing that one. Hopefully this plays, because actually let me do something real quick and see if this helps. Do one thing real quick to do a little test. Okay, I should be good. All right, yeah, doing a little test before I share this other video. Okay. All right, I'll go ahead with the other video. And so this one, oh, that's right, I didn't share my screen. This one, you'll have to read the subtitles. My apologies. I believe from the sounds of it, it's in Mandarin, but it's called White Eagle Alliance versus the Persian Cats. And of course, the White Eagle Alliance would be America and its allies, and the Persian Cats would be the Iranians, of course. So let me share this.
刘金谷乃天下咽喉，这古道之下埋着天下至宝玄铁锤，铸刀炼药生火，续命，样样。
Have to put this was so with the choppiness, you guys won't be able to get the full view of it, especially since it's in subtitles. I don't know how many people saw this video already. So you guys have already seen this, and I won't show it to you. But it's the White Eagle Alliance versus the Persian Cats. And you said during the solar flare, you know I don't know nothing about that stuff, Yonina. You know I don't know about that. The solar what? I don't even look outside half the time. All right, so see, I let it sit for a little while. Let's see if it'll play. Hosea 8 and 7 is the book. This came from. So, let's see. Hopefully this will play, because this one is so funny. It's like they took the whole, for those who, I don't know how many people who grew up on kung fu theater and stuff like that, and watching those old Golden Harvest flicks and stuff like that back in the they're from like 60s, 70s, 80s. And they were big, of course, from the 70s on up, I'll say, to easily like the 2000s. But this one kind of mocks that in a sense, but it replaces, whatever clan that would be, and it represents them with U.S. versus Iran, but it puts them into the form of animals. And so, of course, the White Eagle Alliance is, of course, eagles and buzzards and all kinds of stuff like that. And the Persians are cats, which is fitting, of course. So let's see. Waited for a little while. Let's see if it'll do me right.
流经谷乃天下咽喉，这古道之下埋着天下至宝玄铁髓。刀、炼药、生火、续命，样样离不开它。而白鹰盟立了一条铁规，买髓只收白鹰金票，控住了髓。 控住了钱，便控住了天下。
波斯战在圣火窟深处炼制邪火，还有胆拒不拆除地下核心炉，着实可恶。
报告盟主，属下已截获波斯寨最高命令，现下正是拔掉这颗眼中钉的最好时机。
好，我白鹰盟坐镇武林，今天就要替天下清理门户。 听着，没人比我更懂斩首战术。我要这地界从此为我白鹰盟号令侍从。谁在那儿？白鹰盟，你们！君臣无死之后，各自为战。 灭，亦可燎原。不应该老寨主已死，波斯寨群龙无首，早就该乱作一团。他们现在不过是回光返照，虚张声势罢了。他们的破烂家底儿绝对坚持不了3天。来头鹰，接下来我可就不客气了。
波斯猫疯了，放了一堆破木板做的木马。
破铜烂铁，何足道哉？他们的防空金针全给他们打下来，一只苍蝇都不准飞进来。盟主，不能再打了。怎么？我刚才算了一下，他们的破木鸟造价顶多2两银子，可咱射出去的一根防空金。 造价数百两啊！这不是打仗，是拿银库喂狗啊！你闭嘴！堂堂白鹰盟，岂能被几只破木头吓住？继续射，射到他没有木头为止。
盟主，地面山头出现大量工事和人影，像是准备要强攻。
摸黑偷营，天堂有路你不走，地狱无门你闯进来。传令，夜空惊雷准备，对准那些碉堡给本座炸平了。 就证12枚军委8400两，炸了一堆稻草人。白头鹰，你自诩名门正志同，下此毒手，此血海深仇，我波斯猫全族不死不休。为了报仇雪恨，波斯猫族封堵了西域玄铁髓的唯一交易通道，断了白鹰。
Represent like the the girls school that got bombed.
这是以天下所有生灵为敌，商会的各位。我剿匪，除此大患。白头鹰，你刀再快又如何？守着一线天，我就能断你活路。
Goodness, my mic even keeps cutting in and out. Yeah, my Bad Cookies says said that you'll be going to take a shower. Oh, I understand. Get dinner ready. Definitely understand. But that's what I'll do is I'll share this in the chat, and I'll kind of surmise everything that other videos that I had, because it seems like I'm just getting a really bad signal tonight. In this video, basically, it was showing the Eagles were the United States, and it was showing, even with his bravado and bluster, and what it was saying, if you guys couldn't read the subtitles fast enough, it was saying, you know, that buzzer kept coming to him saying, "Sir, we don't have enough eagle our golden arrows. We're running through golden arrows way too fast." And he's like, "Well, I don't care. Keep shooting them until we run them out of wood." And it's kind of just like the arrogance and stupidity of the eagle, which is representing Trump. And then at the end, with that bridge scene where I cut it off at, it was showing the cats of the Persians and the oxes and pigs and monkeys and all these other ones, were all these other nations that were coming together to start to go against the White Eagle Alliance. It's kind of funny how they said that, the White Eagle Alliance. But yeah, let me grab this video and then I will make sure to share it that way if you guys want to find it, and I'll put it on the screen for those who don't who are not watching this live, because I know that you guys can't always see the chat when you're watching it later on. So I'll put that on the screen. That way you guys can pause it and save it for yourselves to be able to find it. So let me stop sharing that one. And then here I'm putting the link on the screen for you now. So that is the link to, the was it the White Eagle Alliance versus the Persian Cats? Ooh, excuse me. And so that was all the videos I had on the whole Iranian stuff. I'm just kind of waiting to see what's going to happen with the situation as they keep mounting more and more troops. I don't think they're mounting troops for no reason. They keep fainting like they're going to go for Carg Island. I don't know if they will do that. They keep talking about that they're going to go after, if they start going after, if they go after Carg Island and they take it, and I'm just saying we're about to see a massive escalation, and the whole plan, we have a deal, we don't have a deal, all that whole facade is going to fall apart, because it won't be believable when you see the escalations continuously go on. I don't know why the stock market's taking Trump serious that he's talking to somebody. I mean, I highly believe that he's just lying, and he's used to being able to lie his way out of things. And this is a situation he's not going to be able to lie himself out of. So, I don't know. It looks interesting where it's going to go. So I'll take this down off the screen. This was, again, the Persian Cats and the White Alliance, White Eagle Alliance. And then I definitely I had another video that I'll show. I wanted to show that I say look it up. They made another one. It's called the Iran War movie, and they basically CGI'd Liam Neeson. Liam Neeson as Donald Trump. They have Paul Giamatti playing Netanyahu. Who else do they have? They had Rob Lowe as Pete Hegseth, and Jack Black as JD Vance. Who else did they have in there? For the Ayatollah and his son, they had what's his name? Ian, the guy who played Magneto. They have him as the Ayatollah, and then as his son, they have Jake Gyllenhaal. I got the feeling I'm blanking on somebody else that they had in there, but oh my gosh, it was so hilarious. Definitely recommend you guys check that one out. But on that note, I guess I wanted to touch on Cuba for just a little bit. It's looking pretty bad there, but hopefully there might be help that's on the way. I think I read somewhere that I believe Russia or China, one of them are supposedly bringing oil to try to help. And so recently you just had Ryan Grimm, Hassan Piker, Vic Mensa, a handful of other I guess commentators and I guess journalists who went down there, and they went taking medical supplies. And Ryan Grimm got into an interesting back and forth with one of the Fox News hosts, and he basically brought up, like, why are Americans so concerned with what the hell that country does, whether they decide to be Cuban, whether I mean not Cuban, but whether they decide to be communist, whether they decide to be a dictatorship. Why are we so invested in what they do? Why do we feel the need to try to control this other country and force them to act a certain way? It's not our business. And I kind of went into it last week how I felt that it's kind of tough for any leader of a country which has massive sanctions all over it when you have an outside force which is forcing people to go against the government. Yeah, in that video that Vic Mensa showed, he showed some of the medical equipment that they have there that can't be used because they don't have the oil to run it, or and other things. There are multiple things that they have, like they have the, I think Ryan Grimm brought up about the 3D printer that they have to be able to make some of the things that they would need. They figured out that would be a solution to kind of circumvent some of the things that are being medical things that are being affected by the sanctions. But the company that which they bought it from out of Germany, even though they don't have some kind of rule to stop them from helping and doing service on that machine, they won't do it because they're afraid of losing business with the US, especially the way the Trump administration is right now. So you literally have babies that are in the NICU that doctors, the moment that the power shuts out, are having to run over there and literally do chest compressions on babies. And if they press too hard, they can break bones in that baby's chest. They don't press hard enough, they don't get air into that baby's lungs. And it's a delicate balance where many of them are still being able to maintain and save some of these children, but some of these hospitals are not as fortunate and haven't been able to save some of these kids. And so literally right now, this embargo that they're putting on, and the crazy part is the embargo affects the hospitals, doesn't affect the hotels. So hotels are able to have power basically when hospitals don't. And this is part of some of the evil, evil stuff that the Trump administration is doing. I put this on Marco Rubio mainly. And he's just a disgusting individual that he would do this to, fellow Cubanos, all because he wants capitalism in that country. He wants a change leader and he wants it capitalism, and they want a puppet government in there, just like they want around the world. And it's like America don't have enough. I mean, America is one of the richest nations ever to existed and have plenty of wealth inside the country. But what we have is not enough. They still feel the need to go take from others or bully others or feel they need to control others. And it's just like, I don't get what this level of immense, intense greed comes from. This like lack of humanity that, our leaders show in this country. And it's disgusting. And I understand why it's tough for Americans to travel anywhere right now, because what our leadership has done makes the world hate us. And I don't know. I guess that's where I'll just end with, my prayers go out to, the Cuban people, the Venezuelan people, all the oppressed people of the world who are having to deal with, the evils of empire and dealing with what the Western world puts out and how they affect and crap on and make life miserable for so many other people, just for a handful at the top of their societies to benefit from it. So yeah, it does. It definitely does. So that's where I am at the end of that note. I really wanted to go into the videos on some of these other things, so we can get a little laugh after going through some of that more rougher information. I mean, I watched a video the other day on Pierce Morgan where Naftali Bennett was getting drilled about why Gaza, 75% of it's been leveled. But that's the reason I wanted to wrap up with something kind of a little bit more on the brighter side. With this Druski and Erika Kirk. Now, there's been a lot of people who have said, oh, Erika Kirk put out a cease and desist and this and that. And it's come out that like Erika Kirk has been silent on this in her defense. Although I wouldn't be surprised if she is fuming behind the scenes. And they said, oh, Druski's responded. Druski hasn't responded at all. Neither one have said anything. Which Druski didn't say anything when the pastor was all ticked off either. and Druski ticks off people all the time. I mean, as you get, bigger and bigger as a society, you're going to, I mean, not bigger and bigger in society, you're going to set yourself up for people to ridicule you in some way or the other. And if you're not ready for that, then, maybe you should stop doing this and go be a private person. I mean, I've already come to the conclusion if I ever became big, they're going to make fun of things about me, and it'll just be it'll be what it is, whether I like it or I think it's funny or whether I, have to just like ignore it. But it is what it is. Well, Teal was trying to be in, but Teal is driving right now, so her signal's going in and out. So if she's able to make it back, that'll be a plus. But I got the feeling that probably the way how bad her signal was going in and out, she probably won't be able to hop back in. Oh, you said put the picture side by side. I guess I could. That's what I can do. I can at least show the image. It's honestly the weird part is Druski. Well, with the eyes and the hair combo, it is kind of Erika Kirk, but he's actually built more like that Florida politician. Because I saw somebody on there. Was it Covey that I follow? And Covey was like, he's not laying off of him. Look at Druski still going, which that's kind of messed up. You say that this woman looked like Druski and Erika Kirk drag, basically. Which I'll show that politician also. That way you can see it. But let's see, images. What I think is funny is what I think is the most funniest about it is he's kind of a comedian. He kind of does more parodies of people, and the parody itself is where the humor comes in. I don't know if he's like stand-up comedy funny. I don't think I've ever seen him do that. But yeah, here's the side by side. Which I think if he looking at the side by side, he probably should have went for more of a tan to capture Erika Kirk a little bit better. This is the pantsuit outfit, which that's hilarious. It's kind of funny. Like you did have some people who were ticked off about this a little bit, some conservatives, but it wasn't as. And the crazy part is he didn't like, as far as anything that was said, he didn't like embellish it or make it over the top. That's the thing which makes it so crazy about when he does these skits of people. It's not like he embellishes their words like extra. Like I said this with I can't remember. I said this with somebody that I was talking to. I said, what would have made it better? The only thing I felt he was missing, the part when she was like, and we need to protect our males, and especially our white male men. I was like, he should have just had a white male man come through at the same time, be like, huh, me? That would have, for me, it would have nailed it. Like I think it's just kind of funny for the shock value. For me, I would say like his NASCAR one was probably his funniest to me, and the pastor. Those two were the funniest. But I get it. Sometimes the one which is the funniest one, or the one which is like the most like well done, isn't the one that always hits. That's not the one that always goes the most viral. I mean, of all of my channels, I had one video that's the most viral, and honestly, that video was so embarrassing when I look back on it because of how poorly it's edited. But that one video somehow ended up getting, a good amount. I mean, it didn't get viral like viral as far as on my level. I mean, it got 11,000 views, which that's more than I've gotten on any views. I think that I would oh, thank you. Thank you, Mariah. I definitely, oh, if I had the means, oh, there's some people I would definitely do some sketches of. Oh, I would definitely do some sketches of plenty of people. But yeah, you're right. It's a cultural moment. I think because Erica Kirk has kind of made herself kind of a little bit of a joke in certain ways. I think that's why it kind of hits more, especially like the one thing that he did that really caught is the crazy thing she does with her eyes. Like I remember commenting on it at the time, and I was like, she was given this like try to look through your soul like evil intensity, and she was like, yes, I do really care about my faith, and it does bother me that some people felt the way about Charlie. It's like, what the fuck was that about? That was fucking creepy. And he captured that multiple times, so that was hilarious. Got to recruit some players. Let's see. But yeah, I guess since my signal's not being the greatest right now, I'm not gonna push my luck and play the skit. Man, that means I can't play the Cash Patel one either. Oh man, I wanted to play this Cash Patel video so bad. Soon to come, Erica K about to become the same level joke as Hawk 2. Exactly. She's literally getting to that level. She's getting to that level. You have to get to that. Oh my goodness. The Hawk Tua girl. She's a fucking joke. Yeah, there's Cash App Patel sketch. Well, there's a video. You know what? I'm gonna try anyway to share this video. I already know that this video is not Cash Patel. So I'm putting that out there already. This video I'm about to show is not Cash Patel. But it's so hilarious because it looks like him. Because as you guys know, Cash Patel was hacked recently. And so since Cash Patel was hacked, people have been these people rushed to get their videos out, and to try to go viral and try to get some extra clicks. And where the heck is that video at? And there's a video about Cash Patel. It's not Cash Patel, but it looks so much like him. For context, this man is this man, I guess what was going on was his wife divorced him, or he divorced his wife, or she's moving back to India or some shit like that. And this dude was so happy that he's dancing around the living room, and he looks so much like Cash Patel. Dang it, why didn't that one open right? I'm still gonna try this one because this one's, I guess, it's telling me. I guess I'm already. All right. Here, if I can't show y'all the Druski one, let me stop the Erika Kirk. Okay, so let's hop back over there. All right, come on, let me open the big. I guess it's not gonna let me show this one either. Is there Erika Kirk Bitcoin yet? Well, I imagine it's probably coming. If not, since there's a Trump one, I would assume that at Toilet Paper USA or they're not the. Wow. So, see, was it? So I guess, yeah, I wanted to get into Israel versus Iran. I wanted to get into Cuba, the Druski versus Erika Kirk, but I planned on showing videos, and since I'm not able to show my videos on it, I guess I'll ask you guys, and I'll leave it open. Anybody have any questions for me? Because I figure it'd be just easier to answer questions because I've hit all of my stories. Or I could just go ahead and wrap it up shortly, which I guess I'll leave it open for the next couple of minutes if you guys have questions. I can go ahead and go into any questions on any topic. And then if not, I'll go ahead and wrap this up. Go back through the chat, see if there's anything I missed. Believe it or not, Mariah, I used to do quite a bit of acting in high school for theater. And I used to do a lot of ad-libbing. Will you go on vacation this summer? Yes. In fact, well, it's isn't vacation, but next week, I'll probably be going to Mexico and try to get my mouth fixed before everything goes crazy. Says, could the cell phone stream be putting a strain on your internet signal? That's the weird thing about it. My stream is showing fine. Stream is showing fine. Nina, that is a negative. That is a negative. Cool. You did it in college. What do you think about raising the enlistment age to 42? I think that's old for private. Hell yeah, that's old for a private. I think what it is it's an attempt to cover over the fact that they're not getting the numbers. And just so I'm fair, the recruitment thing has not only been a problem under Trump. In the Biden years, Biden was having the recruitment numbers were not very good under Biden, and the retention numbers weren't good. So you had a lot of people who were doing their four and getting right out. Now, I don't know exactly why that was happening under Biden. I think probably some of it could have been the Ukraine stuff that was going on. I think some of it also is just this younger generation in general has as more information has come out, they're seeing the military more for how it's been used and not the intention. Then they're like, I get it, yeah, you can get some college money, yeah, you can get different benefits and all that, but I'm not gonna let you guys use me to get these things down. Poverty is still a strong motivator to get people to join the military. But I just think this younger generation is a lot more socially conscious, and that's why many of them have been opting out, whether it's been under Trump and under Biden, because I think even if this situation wasn't going on, I think more would not be joining. Um, but at the same time, I think um, Russia, Ukraine, all the stuff that Israel has been doing, this Iran war, I think all of this is compounding the numbers, and that's why they kind of had to secretly do that little draft move that they did. But I think they're hoping by opening the age up to older people, they can get, you know, they can at least boost their numbers a little bit. But yeah, 42. I don't know, and also they were already having a problem with a lot of the people not passing their fit test. Yeah, I imagine AWOL numbers are definitely going to go up. Also, there've already been an explosion of people trying to be conscientious observers. So that's already one thing that's showed huge. But I just look at it like this: when you have that first like well, here's another thing. I really feel like once the midterms are over and you have like a whole new Congress, and if that Congress is more Democrats in there, uh, not that they'll be doing this because they have good intentions, but I think when they do more inquiries into the actual real body counts, and they start seeing how much they're lying about the real body counts, I think that's going to cause for more reasons for impeachment. What up, cuz? What up? See, Yonina says that's why recruitment centers is right across the street from my building with the cemetery right across from it. Oh, okay. Um, I do know that's why recruiters are always hanging around schools. Kay says, I think that lots of people are previously served and found a good solid brotherhood, for lack of a better definition, will be eager to get together again, like getting a band back. I doubt that. I doubt that. And the reason why is when you get in and you have that camaraderie, I get it, and other people will be able to explain it also. You do enjoy the camaraderie, but the more and more you know about like what your job is and your mission, and I'm not saying everybody, because you get somebody who they might be they might be sitting on a ship and say, I don't know, what's a good spot? Well, right now, no spot's a good spot, but before you would have people where even during like or the whole Iraq war was going on, you had people who were like stationed on like the Kitty Hawk out of Japan. They weren't tasting no kind of combat. They go out on their little patrol missions, and they were completely away from the war, completely isolated from it. And it was just mainly good times with your buddies, going out, seeing Japan, partying, that kind of stuff. Some people are going to school while they're active duty. I know I took some college courses while I was on the ship. So I don't, but most of the time, once people get out, it's very rare that you have people who want to hop back in. Even some of these conservative kind of I've been seeing people online like, oh yeah, I'll hop back in and putting on their uniform and trying to do these montage videos. That these people ain't going back to the military. This is all puffing out your chest, cosplay, blah blah blah. These people are full of it. It's a very, very. I mean, if you go by the numbers, only 1% of the population actually joins the military. So, out of 1% of the population that joins the military, out of that 1%, what percentage stay in longer than a 2-year enlistment? I mean, well, stay in long enough to re-enlist. What percentage? It's very, I mean, a big chunk of that drops off. Easily like 50% don't re-enlist after their first enlistment. And when I say first enlistment, everybody basically signs an 8-year contract, whether you guys know that or not. Some people are doing 2 years active, 6 inactive, 4 years active, 4 years inactive, or 6 years active, 2 inactive. And what I mean by that is when you do that 4 years active, you're active duty for 4 years, and then you leave. And once you leave the military, you're not physically in the military anymore, not in uniform, not taking orders. You're out in the civilian world, but you can still be recalled throughout those 4 years, and you are still under the code of military justice. So, say for instance, even if you're out there smoking weed, that would be something where you could be brought back, put in uniform to be charged with. Now, it'd be a slap on the wrist, but they're not going to do it. They're not going to waste their time going after you for that. But you still are technically under the Uniform Code of Military Justice. But as far as how many who have been out for years and decide that they're going to go back, it's only people who really are having a hard time on the civilian world. Some people can't transition at all. Those people will possibly go back. Or people who are like, you know what? I got child support I got to pay. I mean, this job ain't paying me nothing. I didn't have any, because a lot of people will use military to gain skills. And once you gain those skills, it can set you up for other career paths once you get out. If you didn't do something in the military that sets you up on the outside, because there's some jobs that just don't translate. Then yeah, you might end up going back into the military because you don't have any skills on the outside that are going to translate and give you growth or give you good pay. I mean, I knew people who went in as air traffic controllers, got out, they were making 6-figure incomes instantly. Then there's people like me where there's only a couple of narrow pathways that leads me into police force, bomb squad, SWAT teams, some kind of security officer or patrol, or some kind of other like military contractor type positions. Maybe even if you go through like working on getting your apprenticeship and journeyman license and all that, as far as in ordnance, you can use that to get into construction for demolitions. But outside of that, if you don't want to do any of those fields, you're getting basic electrical, you get basic HVAC, and you get basic plumbing skills also. So if you were to take any of those trade skills and push them a little farther, yes, it can catapult you into certain industries. But let's say you go back to your hometown and your hometown don't have a lot going, which many military people are coming from very poor hometowns also, with not a lot of opportunity. Unless they move somewhere else, it might be hard for them to be able to do anything in that hometown. So that person may go back to the military. But if you move to a bigger city, a Chicago, a Houston, a New York, maybe a New Orleans, New York, LA, or you're right outside of a base, that's the few ways where you can utilize those skills for some people. Some people go into like the legal field, and yeah, that sets you up to be a paralegal right off the bat. You can transition that into law school with the money you have, but There's a lot of fields of people who go into the military and they can't do jack with it once they get out, i.e., like an infantryman. You go in as infantry, is not much you can do once you get out, but like being a cop. And if you don't want to be a cop, kind of shit out of luck is options. But there's a lot of fields like that. And then there's those fields where I had a friend who was a photographer. All they did was show up to like banquets and stuff like that and take pictures and dress in their like they're issued a uniform which I've never even worn. Like you have like a special what is it called? Special ceremony or ceremonial dress. John, you know what I'm talking about? Where it's only for people who are going to like banquets and stuff. Um some of those people are in a whole different field. I know people who were vets. Like I knew somebody who was a veterinarian in the army. All they did was work on, service members' animals. So the military is so wide with career choices that some of these people will never ever touch military. So yeah, for them getting out, getting back in, that's more feasible. But if you had anything to do with like war and all that, even if you had that camaraderie with the buddies, that is not enough to bring you back. Many of us just stay cool after we get out. I mean, I got a couple of buddies who I talked to who, after they got out, some of them were from New York and some were from like Texas, and they ended up just staying like at our last duty station. Like so many of them, like my buddies where I was in the military with, they ended up just staying like in Jacksonville, even though they're originally from like Brooklyn or the Bronx or from like one of my buddies, we literally called him, his nickname was H Town because he's from Houston. Couple of buddies from California. And so I don't know any of the people I serve with that's looking at going back, but I mean, no, we didn't have cotillions in the military. No. But like, in fact, I wonder if I can find what that even looks like, because I know I never wore any of those special uniforms. Never went to any kind of like military banquets either. Um, let's see. Let's see. Naval ceremonial uniform. Well, I guess technically I did have that. Oh, I guess it's just the dress blues with your medals instead. But I've seen some, well, officers have a different one, but I've seen like Army where they got like, it's almost like a tuxedo type uniform. I don't know how to describe it. Well, the special uniforms I was talking about for like the ceremonial banquets is like they're like almost like tuxedos. Um the only people who I see that really have a special uniform is Fleet Marine Force. Fleet Marine Force are, because the Marine Corps doesn't have corpsmen. And corpsmen are like nurses in a sense. Some are almost to the level of like a RN, um and they'll be used as a field medic. um they have a special like half Marine, half Navy uniform, because they have to go through naval boot camp, corpsman school, and then they go through a portion of Marine Corps boot camp. Let me see if I can find what their uniform looks like. Fleet Marine Force images. No, I don't want that. Show me the uniform. uniform. Let's see. And this thing sucks. It's like it doesn't understand. It keeps only showing me Marines. Or whatever. But I had buddies who were Fleet Marine Force. And so I saw the half Navy uniform, half Marine Corps uniform. It looked kind of odd. All right, but yeah, I guess you normally wore. Oh, normally wear your BDUs. Like I had to wear. I wore my dress whites like a couple of times, and I hate the dress whites the most of any Navy uniform. Well, the enlisted version. Part of why I joined is I thought I would be an officer one day, and I get to rock the all white dress uniforms for officers, which I think those are actually pretty cool. I think those are actually pretty cool. Rondo, don't you start. I see you. Don't you start. But because the difference for those who don't understand what I'm talking about, the naval whites for enlisted, it's the what we call cracker jacks. Um, but they're like they're almost like wearing pajamas. Like the blues, the blue cracker jacks are actually kind of like tapered and buttons on the sleeves, and they're not as flowy. The other ones just feel all loose. It feels weird. I don't know. I'm trying to remember. Did they have bell bottoms? I think they kind of went away from the bell bottoms. Like I know when I was in boot camp, I was in the group of like the last divisions to be issued the bell bottom dungarees. Um, before they went to what were called the utilities, and then eventually they went on to the uh the blue digiprint BDUs. Oh Lord, I'm scared. You said it shouldn't be nothing crazy that comes up when I type in. Let me see what is yours showing. That's what I wonder. What is yours showing, Yonina? Yeah, I mean, mine just comes up with Cracker Jacks. Here, I'll show you what uniforms I see. It's the same ones I wore in the military. Yeah, I don't know what you typed in, but yeah, these are the same uniforms I'm talking about. But I see now a change is like they've tapered the sleeves now on the whites. They didn't used to be tapered when I was in, and it felt gross. But yeah, these were like what my dress blues look like. Just these. Yeah, this one over here. This is what my original whites used to look like. See how they're all loose on the sleeves? I hated them damn uniforms. But it looked like they finally tapered them like these, which I can rock with those. And I guess they've gotten rid of the separate female uniform, and now they wear the same uniforms as the men now, which is different. When I was in, the female enlisted didn't wear the Cracker Jacks; they wore a different uniform. But the Navy has changed also from when I was in quite a bit as far as uniform wise. For instance, like our service dress blues were basically like they were like black pants, like a black button-down shirt and a tie. But now they've switched to like you got a black shirt and tan pants, or I don't know. It's weird. It's weird to me anyway. No, we're the Marines are the jarheads. We're I guess you guys call us the squids. Oh, you talking about the BDUs now? Yeah, I, I got out like right before the Navy started using those BDUs, and so I was still using the Marine Corps style digiprint. Let's see, Navy digi. And so these that are here, these blue ones, I wasn't wearing those. I was wearing the green ones like that. The blue ones went into use Navy wide, like probably I want to say like 2 months after I got out. All right. Well, I guess if there's no more questions, I'm going ahead and get ready to wrap this. What was that? I get ready to wrap this up. Yeah, I tell everybody the one thing that you need to make sure to pay attention to coming up with this whole Israel, U.S., Iran. The main thing to pay attention to is if we strike. Well, for one, if we land troops, pay attention to that because we're about to see a massive escalation, and things are going to be kicked into overdrive. If we see them attack any more oil refineries, and three, if we see them attack the desalinization plants, we see any of those three things, shit's about to get real fast. So on that note, I will leave it there. Much appreciation to everybody that came to drop in. I love all of you out there. Hopefully you guys have a safe week. And if things do get crazy, make sure you guys start getting all the perishables that you need. I mean, not the non-perishables that you need. Start stocking up, get water. Make sure you guys have batteries for flashlights, things like that. Make sure you have, hand radios just in case your phones go out and stuff like that, or TV's out. Make sure you keep all those things. Another thing, make sure you have stuff for for water purification. That's something also. If you don't have stored water and you're not able to get back to your home and you're trapped somewhere else, you want to make sure that you could be able to still get water. I mean, if chaos ensues, you don't want to be the person who's scrambling in that situation. Yes, if you have solar powered capabilities of any kind, make sure you do that. And if you are living in a city, i.e., like myself, make sure you have where you're going to go if things hit the fan, because this is not the place you want to stay. Do not stay in the city. Get to your friends in rural areas. They are going to be your best friends. Let's see. Yeah, man, I can see now why China, Russia, and Iran are trying to be so diplomatic and cool with the U.S. I'm telling you, if they retaliation is going to be disastrous for everybody. Everybody in the world is going to feel it if we have a World War III. And I think back to hearing, was it Kim Iverson was talking about, oh, well, gas prices will get a little higher. Maybe we'll have some shortages on some food. And I'm like, woman, you're minimizing what you think. So, I mean, I guess obviously she hasn't really done a real thought exercise on what would actually happen or talk to anybody who's an expert on something like that. Things can get very crazy very, very fast. Kay says, I live in the biggest city. I live in a high tower, most dispense part of Canada. It's like living in a vertical coffin. The one thing that I think would help, I don't know what to tell you either there, but hopefully Canadians are not as cutthroat as I think Americans are. I think Americans are probably some of the most cutthroat and most selfish people in the world, and so I worry of anybody who's living in those areas. And if you start seeing those warnings on the wall, make sure you get yourself to the exits as fast as possible. That's what I would say. Before the full collapse. Some people will think, well, maybe I'll just hunker down and kind of wait it out in a couple of days, things will be getting better. Pay attention to what actually happens, because by paying attention to what actually happens, you can, have an indication on if this is a minor thing or this is a new norm. I can tell you this, even if the straits are open tomorrow, gas prices are going to stay high. Gas prices are this is almost going to be like a new norm. Gas prices are going to be high like this for a very long time, because there's so much infrastructure that has been destroyed that's going to take years to rebuild. And that's the reason why I think, they may impeach Trump when a new house comes in. And the reason why is because, they're fine with kind of like screwing us all over a little bit here and there. They're fine with like letting us live right at the grounds of poverty. And if a couple of people, hey, they can't pay their health care and they ended up dying, okay, they're fine. They're fine with that acceptable risk of a person here, a person there. But when you start having it in the masses, it's kind of like the perfect example I'll give is, any of you guys out there play Grand Theft Auto. It's like Grand Theft Auto. When you've been out there doing a whole bunch of crimes in Grand Theft Auto, you start accumulating stars. As your stars go up, the pressure increases. You have more of the people who are more skeptical of you. You have more of the people who are just always are already trying to attack you. You have more police who are out looking for you. And those stakes and everything get ratcheted up. And Congress has been perfectly fine with keeping everything around 2 stars, where everybody's just a little pissed off and frustrated. And it's like, if I ever got that opportunity, I would. They're fine with keeping it at that level. They know you're pissed off, but you're not pissed off yet to throw everything away and come after them, or at least most people are not. But where we're about to go to, this is easily going to jump over the 3 stars, tipping into 4 stars. And we're talking about 4 stars out of 5. When you get to that level on the game, you got cops all over the place. You got just random people shooting at you. This is a level that Congress will be putting themselves in. And I think many of them knew if we ever went to war with Iran, this is what would happen. So they've always stayed away from it. That's the reason why I say any of these politicians, these crooked ass politicians, would have never went down this route, because they know how dangerous and detrimental it is to actually touching them. I'm not saying that they would do it because they're all benign and this and that and they're not corrupt. I'm not saying that. I'm saying they wouldn't have done it because they know this could turn into mobs outside of their house without no police protection, dragging them out. So that's the reason why I say Trump, none of that stuff clicks to him. He doesn't have enough common sense of self-preservation, because he feels like he's went 79 years without anybody ever really being able to touch him. So why would it change now? Why would he feel any threat that this isn't going to be something he could just get away with like normal? If you allow somebody to go through their life always being able to take whatever they want and never have consequences, and then give that person the power of the presidency, it's a dangerous game that we've allowed. And so I just say everybody start planning, preparing. If you're in rural areas, Or if you're in areas, not even rural areas, say you got just your own land to grow something on, grow it now, grow your own vegetables and stuff. You should already be doing it if you can. Just like my cuz does. He's growing his stuff. He's teaching his kids to grow off the land, and because you're gonna need to know these things, especially if we have a societal collapse. I know many of those people are wanting a revolution, but you have a revolution. That doesn't mean order is going to be like, okay. Let's say, for instance, you get that revolution, and it only lasts a couple of months, and now you got that new government instituted. You're still gonna have chaos in the streets. You're going to have chaos for a good amount of time, even with that new government in power, because everybody's just not going to listen automatically. How do you know the military will even be on board with this new government or whatever? So I'm just saying that if it gets to a point where we start seeing, things get crazy enough for martial law in the streets, just know it's going to get crazy out there. But that said, that's all I got. I appreciate you all, as I said before. And hopefully, we make it through this week safely, all you and your loved ones. And I guess that's all I got. This is the Political Matrix. I'm your host, Marcus Morpheus Cage. And you guys all be good. God bless.
There is discrimination in this world, and slavery and slaughter and starvation. Governments repress their people. Millions are trapped in poverty, while the nation grows rich, and wealth is lavished on armaments everywhere. These are differing evils, but they are the common works of man. They reflect the imperfection of human justice, the inadequacy of human compassion, our lack of sensibility towards the suffering of our fellows. But we can perhaps remember, even if only for a time, those who live with us are our brothers, that they share with us the same short moment of life, that they see as we do,